Hello there. Hi, Rick. Damien here,
How's it
Damien
going?
Borba, your host here for the episode number 2 of Pactto Cast. I'm here with my friend Rick Takahashi. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rick.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
this is so cool. So cool to have you here. Yeah, as we do this series, we're trying to collect and share some of the powerful tools that a lot of the great athletes and successful people have. And by the end of maybe a couple series, we can start sharing more and more and help more people use the tools and then get to better scenarios and do better. So to get things started here, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your name, your journey, how you got here, and some of the activities you do?
Um, well, I'm Rick Takahashi, born and raised in San Diego. I grew up in East County, actually, Santee, California. So it was actually pretty hard to get to the beach when I was young. Um, some days, we always, as most surfers, we start off skating ramps, ditches, whatever. And then from there, obviously, we got into surfing. And basically, I got into surfing because of my friends. If my friends didn't surf, I wouldn't surf. If my friends didn't skate, I wouldn't skate. So,
Oh, wow.
surf, skate, a little bit of snowboarding, and yeah, just train for surfing.
That's amazing. Do you remember, like, if there was a specific trigger or some sort of event that, besides your friends, like, oh, this is it. This is like surfing is my thing. I want to go after this thing for many, many years to come. Did you have that? It was just over time and that happened like naturally.
That's a good question. First, it was just my friends, and then from there, I entered my first surf contest pretty early, and I made a final.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought, well, maybe I can be pretty good at this. And then, just focus and put all your energy and see how far you can go in something.
Do you remember how old you were at
I think I
that?
was maybe 15 or 16,
Oh,
something like that.
nice. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, and for
I started pretty late actually surfing, probably like 13 and a half, 14.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. And for the like for people listening to this and watching, Rick has 13 national titles. So one against me. The latest one. That was amazing. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, 13 national titles, 6 seconds. I still remember all the seconds. um, so the first eight or so were with the NSSA, when it was really thriving and a lot of really good guys, you know, were like 7 rounds to the final, like really, really grueling days. Um, and the first one, I don't know. I remember the first national title or final I made. I think I got like second or third, and then I was really mad. So the next year, I won double divisions
Oh,
in
wow.
and took home 2 national titles. So I
That's
wanted to make up for it. So I really entered another division just to make up for it.
That's amazing. And I remember, like, you probably don't remember, but I moved to San Diego. I'm from Brazil. I moved to San Diego back in, like, I think 2006. And I lived in La Jolla for many years,
Hmm.
in the beginning of my life here in the US. And I remember surfing at the pier in Scripps, and seeing you there, and you were like so serious, so focused. I was like, this guy's gonna rip my head off. Like, if I'm like, yeah, I thought it was like a super tough and hard, but after like many years, we started chatting and competing together, and it turns out you're like super kind, super like humble, and that was something. Do you remember those like scripts, like old days?
Yeah, I actually searched scripts yesterday. It was pretty good. Yeah, I usually have earplugs in, because of the ears. I've had ear surgery twice already, in one ear and once in the other ear. And
Oh, wow.
going into the water, just like any other sport, I have like goals and things I want to work on. So I do talk to people, but I'm pretty focused on what I want to get accomplished in that short amount of time. So when I go out, it's something like, I set my Garmin on and make sure I catch X amount of waves. And like leading up when we went to the trip on to Waco, I was thinking we're going to do 30 turns an hour at least. So
Oh
I was getting
wow.
my sessions up to at least 30 turns or more in a shortest amount of time as possible, so we could replicate what we're going to be going through.
Oh wow, that's interesting. I thought I was getting ready for that, but it's clearly like you were a lot more prepared. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about like goal setting and how maybe discipline and practice all come together. Like how do you deal with that when you like didn't get first at your first national like final and then going to the second year, and how that evolved? Like what's your optimized version today of that, like that process?
Um, well, I think I've been lucky to have good people in my life, and I always tell people to get mentors and people to talk about things and to work through things. Um, and it's weird in the trainings, I do different kinds of training. So a lot of stuff we think about is mindset. And this is going to sound super corny. So there was a movie, a football movie that was really Keanu Reeves, the Replacements, right?
Say
I
that
don't know if
again.
the
No,
Replacements.
I haven't
Anyway,
seen
it's a
that.
horrible movie, but it's
Yeah.
kind of funny. And there's one line though in the movie that that really stuck to me is like winners want the ball at the end of the game. So I probably won more national titles in the last 30 seconds than I did in the rest of the whole entire time.
Wow.
So I said I would wait until I had the best opportunity, and then I wanted that chance, and I thrived for that moment to rise to the occasion. And you can only rise to the occasion if you train for that. They always say, I'm going to mess up this quote. It's like you only default to what you've mastered. So
Oh,
you're never
yeah.
going to rise to the occasion if you've never been there, have never trained for it. You're only going to default to what you've mastered.
This is amazing. Like the more I study about like Olympic athletes and top athletes like you, it's interesting that that moment they practice so much that the goal at that moment is to work more on your mind than on your body. It's almost like you have to calm your down, like your mind a little bit to say, hey, you've done this before, you know the drill, there's nothing new here, just do your best, right? And
Yeah.
it's a lot more like a mental game than a physical game at that stage.
Oh, absolutely. It's so I tell everyone, I train so hard, but when you get your physical benefits, but mentally, that's what you're training those moments is you're strengthening your mind. So okay, I've done everything. I've done all the road work. I did all the cardio. I did all the, hill repeats, swinging kettlebells or whatever, you're flipping tires or whatever for that moment to train your body. So your mind knows that moment you've done everything possible. Now it's time to do what you're supposed to do.
And your mind can really hurt you, right? Like
Oh
if you
yeah.
panic and if you just overthink things and overdo things, right? And just you if you cross that line of like you're over surfing, right, or overdoing
Yeah.
something, it's not gonna work. And a lot of the great contests that I had was like really like you said, when you are relaxed, when things are just flowing and you're not sometimes not even thinking about it, uh, and it's more like managing your mind. You mentioned the last minute. I brought a video here for us to talk about. Let me share my screen very quickly. So this is one that happened last. Was it last year or 2 years ago? The last national
Last year.
last
Last
year,
year.
yeah. So I was doing like all the contests and I was doing well. I won like Western, like it was the Western division. It was amazing. And then Rick was not competing because he was hurt, I think, right? You were recovering
Yeah.
from an injury. But then I was winning all the heats up until the final, and then at the final, I lost to Rick. So that was like, man, I did everything right. But in the semifinal, this was super fun because again, I was losing. I
Yeah.
didn't find any waves, and then I got this last one. Let's see if that plays. And I needed like a five or something. That was the semifinal. That's back your wife clapping.
I was in the channel clapping. I was paddling out for my semi heat,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, I was. I remember. I remember what you needed, and it was better than average score. So you needed above a 5. I knew that, but you needed
Because
something under an 8. You didn't have to
yeah,
go excellent, so you needed a solid wave, not an excellent wave. And I saw that set coming, and I looked at the clock, and I'm like, oh, he's going to get a chance.
yeah.
Yeah, and
It
I'm
was
like,
so it was crazy, and I remember like hearing you like and talking about that you cheered from the jetty there, and I remember it was when I only had 15 seconds, right, and that set came, and I was so trained that at that moment all I had to do was just relax and do my best, right? I didn't get nervous, I didn't think about the score, I didn't think about anything, and I gave everything I had. The wave was hard, the wave was small, it was not easy, and then I got the score and I made to the final to surf with you. But that was like that mind game was so critical for that moment, and I will never forget. Like, in do you have any tools to train your mind, like this mental conditioning to share?
you know, um, when my mindset started changing, was doing, it's weird, is was doing martial arts. Um, how you have to go past like those moments. It could be any sport or whatever you're doing, but like training for something and going past those moments that you didn't think you could go past. When you're like you're doing something and you're like, I think I'm going to throw up, and then you do, and then you keep going. you know, um, it's preparing my mind. Now I just train, really hard physically, so I know mentally that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Like before, it was kind of searching for things that fit. Um, like days I couldn't get a ride to the beach when I was young, I would just fill up my backpack full of water and just go run the hills. And I would say I might not have the most talent, but I'm not going to let someone outwork me. So I just knew that like I'm going to have the cardio to at least compete with everyone else.
That's
So just
amazing.
like certain weird things, I would do. Sometimes I'd get off of work and the only time I could run was 10 o'clock at night. And sometimes in the winter it was like, 20s, 30s, and you're just running. And that's just, and mentally that makes you a little stronger because you go, I know that guy's not running, you know. And I'll tell you a story about my friend Chris Bird. He's the 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, and he
Oh,
was going to
wow.
fight Holyfield. And Holyfield, he found out Holyfield got up at 6 a.m. to run in Florida. That's his time he'd get up to go running. So he goes, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. And he lived in Flint, Michigan. It was snowing, and
Oh,
he couldn't even see
no.
his tracks on the ground when he was running back. So he goes, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. just so I have mentally, I know I'm up before him doing work.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
it's
I
amazing to hear guys like that and what they do, like, and special forces guys and all that I listen to.
Yeah, I remember, I think Kobe Bryant used to do that too. I think he was getting like to practice at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., something like that as
Yeah.
well, to really train more than the others, to take that mind, like you're thinking that you were doing more, so you can like create this sense of
Yeah.
confidence, right? Like that you're doing more and you have this advantage because you're doing more, right? And that's super interesting. A lot of the fighters do that, so that's amazing. Do you have any tools like on self talk or visualization, like when you prep?
Um, that's a good question. I'm a big Christian. I read the Bible a lot.
Same here, yeah.
So I get a lot of preparation that way. And then for other mental stuff, I listen to people like Jocko and like super high level guys who've been in death defying situations, and really feed off of their like leadership, besides leadership mindset of doing something, and taking. He has an awesome book. I think it's Extreme Ownership, and if anyone watches, just search Jocko and the word good. And he has a video of just says good. He's like, you didn't get that position at work. Good. You didn't do this. Good. That gives you more opportunity to train harder, to prepare for it next time. And it's kind of those things that I think about is like, all right, you didn't win. You're going to win next time. So what are you going to prepare yourself, and what adjustments are you going to make?
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I listen to him as well. I love his approach to like discipline and incremental
Yeah.
improvements. Like instead of over planning things, just do your best every single time, even if you're tired. Like do your best,
Yeah.
and things will happen, right? And you said about like being Christian, and I remember my early days when I was entering the contest and I was surfing bad. Like I was not as I got a lot better now. And I remember saying, "Hey God, please help me win this thing." And over time, I stopped doing that because it was almost like, "Hey God, please help me not like get hurt or something, but let me deal with all this thing because it's really me doing this thing, right? It's me doing the activity, and it's my actions that will make it happen. And if for some reason I lose, that's fine. At least I did my best, right? And I think that part of the like knowing there's always an extra contest helps, right? Because a lot of people
Yeah.
get nervous, like business leaders and everything, when they have a big meeting or something that's big, and they treat that as one thing only, and then that creates a lot of unnecessary pressure, right? To deal with. um, do you have that evolution of thinking in your like tough moments? Is there anything new that you use
Anything
more?
new? Also I listen to David Goggins. I don't know if you listen to David
No,
Goggins.
no.
He's awesome. Whoever's listening ever, you gotta look up David Goggins. He's amazing. Um, yeah, I think I used to pray for like certain things like favor or whatever, like you did and stuff like that, and and that's fine, But sometimes I'm like, does God really care if I win? You know.
Yeah.
uh, so just at the moment, of what you know other competitors. A lot of times when I win, I feel bad for the other guy. There was there's 13 years someone didn't win.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Yeah. So I feel bad for my friends who haven't got titles. um like people who like, I hate to say deserve it, because we don't deserve anything. We live in America. We're super blessed.
Oh yeah,
We have
100%.
awesome jobs, and we have opportunity, not like any other country. So, um, I feel like we're so fortunate there. But someone like Gavin Hoey, you know, I want him to win a national title. I'd love to
Yeah.
see him win one. Um, other guys in our division, and then next year I move up to a division, and I told those guys, I was seeing them last contest. I'm like, you guys got to get yours now because I'm coming. I'm coming to take yours.
Yeah, that's amazing. uh I was curious to know, like, let's say there is a stressful situation, maybe a final, like that last 30 seconds, or something more like life threatening, like something in your life. Uh, how do you do, like, what do you do for anxiety management? Like, how do you deal with that moment? Like, do you have any plans? Like, how does your mind work in those situations?
Truthfully, I used to worry about that stuff a lot, but now, being a Christian, I just put in God's hand. I can't control anything. I can't control if that wave is going to come in the last 30 seconds. Um, it's, I always feel if he didn't put me in those positions, then I had no chance to fail or succeed. So I really like, sometimes I remember I had this Huntington Beach, I needed an 8. And the last 30 seconds, this guy was, I was in last place. I needed an 8 to win.
Oh wow.
4 guys in the final, Huntington Pier, super crowded. I remember Reynos Hayes was on the beach, and so I paddle way out, and there wasn't a wave there. I'm like, if there was going to be an 8, it's going to break here. So I went out, and those guys told me after heat, we didn't even chase you because there's no way a wave didn't even break there all day. And sure enough, the last 30 seconds, a wave comes in. I dropped like a 9.5, I think, and did everything I did, reversed in the shore break, stood up, and walked out on the beach and heard the score when I was walking up the beach. And I was like, but before that wave came, about 30 seconds before the last 30 seconds, I was just like, all right, God, is it time to be humble and to congratulate all the other guys? Maybe that's time for that. And
Oh, that's amazing. That's
that wave came, and I dropped it on him. So
no, but that's accepting failure is super important, right? And
yeah,
that's your self-talk right there, right? That's super interesting. That's
yeah.
amazing to hear. Back to like preparation and training, like how do you deal with distractions, right? You're a champion like 13 times, and there's always another contest, and you're trying to do your best. Now you're getting to another division. How do you deal with distractions in preparation?
Well, our world is so many distractions, from work to our wives. Of course, we got to spend times with our wives or anyone's significant others. There's always that kind of stuff. I guess you just have to schedule time to get your work in. And if you can always wake up earlier. I used to surf whenever, but now, like, you know what, if I get my surf in super early in the morning, I know, I know what the rest of my day is going to be. I know my day is going to start at 9 o'clock and it's going to go till whenever. So surfing after work sometimes doesn't happen, just because, you run out of time and you have other things and your day gets busy. It's almost like, your time to read the quietest is in the morning. So you're going to get your reading in early, get to the beach, get your work in, and then go to work.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so true. But let's say when you're scrolling on Facebook or like Instagram and you're there, you're hooked, what happens in your mind? Like, please stop this and I have to do something else. Like, do you have any tips?
That's
I
that's
need
a
some help there.
that's a good question, because we have sponsors and we're supposed to post and we're supposed to do stuff, and we have obligations, and you want to live up to expectations that you made to people. So you I kind of set time. I'm like, okay, these days I'm going to post this or that. I kind of plan out posts. Um, sometimes we get shadow banned or whatever, so we got to like do extra stuff. Um, and then, you know, it's weird because social media is not like the real world, but there's a lot of cool stuff to look at. You know, there's a lot of cool surfing. There's a lot of cool, um, you know, just a lot of cool, funny stuff to look at. Even if people like to look at cats, there's a lot of cats.
Yeah, that's probably the number one searched like thing on
Yeah,
YouTube. Um, that's awesome. So we all know that life is not fair, right? There's a lot of frustration, a lot of challenges. Uh, how do you deal with fear? Because fear can really hurt. And I have two kids now, and every time I think of them like getting hurt, that's a kind of a fear that I never experienced before, and it's something crazy. But how do you deal with how does your mind deal with fear?
um, one of my mentors, and that's is a pastor, Marcus. He always told me, "Hey, Rick, make good decisions." And I'm just like, "Well, how do I know I'm making good decisions?" Like, come on, you're making good decisions. Don't put yourself in those positions or whatever. I try to limit putting myself in bad positions, and knowing limitations as your life evolves. We, we probably shouldn't be riding mountain bikes at our age. And, one of my friends is at 50, he's racing mountain bikes. He's like, I'm going to race mountain bikes. I'm like, probably not a good idea.
Yeah,
you know,
horrible
uh,
idea.
I just, and then when I went snowboarding last week, I was just like, well, I'm not going to hit the big jumps anymore, because I don't want to take out of the season of what, you have going. So you're just
Yeah,
kind of picking your battles. And if you're going to get hurt, I always say, it feels better if we get hurt surfing because we're doing things that's our sport. If we get hurt
yeah.
riding a bike or one wheeling or doing skateboard something, then we're kind of pissed at ourselves for putting ourselves in that position.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And you went through some like big injuries, right? I remember like when I was competing last year, you were off trying to recover from, I think, a hip injury,
Yeah,
right?
hip injury. It was like 2 years in a row. Um, I did what we call Wilson, where one foot stays on the board and the other one slides off, and you basically do the splits. But we're guys and we can't really do the splits, so my hip popped out.
Oh my God.
And then right when it was almost at 100%,
Oh
I
man.
got in a weird car accident where a drunk driver ran a red light and hit me. But like when I was pushing on the brake with that same hip, it kind of compressed me and kind of shifted it again. So
Oh
it kind of
man.
set me back again. And yeah, right after this, I'm going to go to get on the PT table and get worked on before the contest this weekend. And,
Wow.
you know, tell everyone to get a good physical therapist. Function Smart's awesome. I think you guys are in the Miramar or Mira Mesa area or Serrano
Yeah.
Valley, Function Smart. They have some good
I,
physical therapists.
that's good to know. Now you mentioned like in getting injured, like surfing is probably like better and you're gonna be more careful. But I remember I'll never forget the first day at Waco that you and Patrick, I think was first session or something, you were so excited. And then first I was surfing there and I know like it's cement at the bottom, right? And
Yeah.
it's pretty hard. And then I saw Patrick running outside with his hand on his head or something like
Yeah.
bleeding, and then you trying to get barrel like you were
Stepped
having
on my
too much
shoulder.
fun. Then you
Yeah.
got uh, where what was your mind there like when you were having too much fun and you wanted to explore and then you just crossed the line?
You know, I think so. I made some adjustments from that first time to the second time. So the first time I went there, I had my normal backside barrel stance. And when I caught the edge, I did a roll, but that cement is kind of textured so you don't slide. And like my shoulder stuck and I separated my shoulder.
Oh my God.
Luckily, luckily I only missed one session and then I taped it and could surf, but it hurt really bad because you weren't paddling that much. So the second time I went, I noticed I watched a lot of the waves and how the water was coming up the face. So I adjusted my stance a little bit so that wouldn't happen again. And yeah, it didn't happen again.
Yeah, wave pools are amazing, right? I think they're gonna help us progress. Like everyone surfing progress so much more because of the repetition, right? There's a lot more pools. There's one being built here in Oceanside, um, all over the U.S. In Brazil, there's an amazing one. And what's your thinking on like the progression of surfing because of the wave pools?
Yeah, I think they'll let us, like anything else, have something repeatable where we can get more reps in. We surf some days, and I think truthfully, my first three waves today, I had only one turn on every wave, and I was kind of getting frustrated because it was kind of fast at first until the tide filled in a little bit, and then then it got a little better, but it won't be like that. We're going to be able to plan out our turns better, almost like skateboarding, where they plan out their lines, and yeah, and just
And
be able to get at it a little better and really refine how we're loading up, and then also with your tool that you could dissect our mechanics a little better and seeing what's going wrong. And I like to actually see because I kind of count my waves and how many turns I do,
oh
where I
wow,
start fatiguing in my session and how to adjust my surfing when I start fatiguing. either like not as many turns, don't load up as much, stuff like that. Or if I want to maximize what I'm doing, space out my waves a little more so I have better energy for each wave.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's see here, Rick here surfing a little bit. So this is him. Yeah, this is awesome. Let me stop sharing now. Yeah, you really rip. And back to the air here. Remember how tough the air section is? Like a lot of people think it's easy, and you see like these girls going super high and
Yeah.
everything. And then we spent 1 hour there trying airs and trying not to get hurt.
Yeah, it was I think more of that was more a moment of picking our battles because man, that cement at that it was like a foot deep, and I really so my airs are really bad. I was doing straight airs. I wasn't tweaking them out. I wasn't getting my tail above. I wasn't getting my nose poked down, and I wasn't getting over my toes just because I didn't want to land like that and land on my face on that cement.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it would have been easier skateboarding that air section and having pads on than trying to air with your surfboard.
yeah, and also the pool, like the wave is kind of shorter than the ocean, right? It has a
Yeah,
different, like it is super powerful, but it's like the pocket is really small. There's not a
yeah,
lot of room. If you get out of the wave to do a good bottom turn, you lose the wave. You're gonna lose
yeah,
speed, and it's different. I think the energy is in different places, and it makes it super hard. And the only thing that can help is really practice. And
yeah.
I never thought about like counting my turns. All I did was like I remember wave one was different than wave two. Wave two I could do like more like a cutback, and wave one was more like maybe a barrel at the end. But I never had that strategy. Uh, is there a limit for you? Like maybe you're just overthinking things, and that you say like I'll just relax, or you always have this big plan of optimizing everything?
I think I probably want to surf, my best on every wave. So I'm constantly thinking. It's almost like golf. Like you'll be golfing great, and then all of a sudden you start making mistakes, but they're mental mistakes because you're getting tired. So first thing you start doing is making mental mistakes. So like I think yesterday morning I had a pretty long session, and I was getting to, I did something that felt weird, and then I'm like, all right, and I started thinking back and what wave that was. And I'm like, I'm way over I'm like 20 waves already, and the paddle is really long because there's waves yesterday. I'm like, I should probably be shorting, doing things different on waves to optimize my energy at that time in the water. And it took that mental mistake to actually start, thinking about what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm always thinking about it, every
That's amazing.
session, every
I,
session. And I put on my, my watch, my Garmin, and I'm thinking, okay, how many calories am I at right now and stuff like that.
oh wow.
And how much did I eat, that morning compared to, what I'm eating through the day.
Wow.
And so my routine is if I surf and I'll do something at lunch, I'll either run or do some cross training. But if I do it after 2 o'clock, my legs won't be there for the next morning. Like my bottom turns won't be as good. My session will have to be shorter. So I try to really plan out my days on how, best maximize my session the next day, the next morning.
Wow. I had no idea, Rick. This is so eye-opening to me. And I was gonna ask like when it's go time, like a contest or something that's more special, you would switch something. But it looks like you do that mental switch every single time, independent if it's like super important contest or training.
Yeah, I mean, my I think my most vulnerable moments in heats is the first heat of the day because you just don't know how you're going to come out, and we don't have time to pre-surf, especially the first heat. Maybe you'll catch one wave before the heat starts, and that's it.
Your
So
body's still like super stiff
yeah,
from
waking
like last
up
night.
and you're just having coffee and stretching, halfway stretching.
Yeah.
You're tired and you're not hydrated because you know how it is. It's just
Is,
it's
is is there a time of the day, like during the day, that's kind of your optimal time? Like this is where I perform the best. Like, do you have that data?
um I think I start it, probably my third wave in my session, no matter what time of day. You know, think thankfully with COVID we could wake up a little later because it's not like hard times to get into work. So it's shifted to like get in at 9 or something, be online at 9 o'clock. So I think like right at 8 o'clock is when I start having my best sessions. Your body's going a little bit. You've been up since 6. You're stretching. You drive to the beach. You had your coffee. You got a couple waves under you, and then right around 7:38 is when you start doing your real turns.
That's
For me,
amazing. That's amazing to hear. Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, I feel bad now because I had like not even like 20% of that preparation, or like and like all the like the tools. Yeah, you really trained a lot more and thought about things a lot more. Um, you have like in your Instagram, like send me as a message there. Like, do you want to share a little bit about that? Like,
yeah.
what's the thinking
It's like
behind
a
that?
lot of Christians have life verses, and that's Isaiah 6:8 mine. I heard a voice from the Lord saying, "Who shall I send? Who will go for us?" And I said, "Send me." It's it's kind of a ministry. People use it for war fighting, battle stuff, but it's kind of a life verse is saying like, I'm ready, send me. Are we prepared? If you're prepared for the moment, then let's go. Let's do it.
Wow,
I'm always, if I always think in my life that I want to rise to the occasion in a sense. We train for that moment to succeed at what we're doing, either at work that we prepared for our meetings or whatever our tools are. Um, that we want to, surf better or, you know, put whatever you want in that situation. But if we're ready, then let's go. Send me. I want it. You know.
that's amazing. No matter if you get hurt or things go bad, you want to be there for the fight.
It's funny. It's sometimes I like being like, if you're a little hurt, you kind of you focus a little bit more, and you kind of, okay, here's my limitation. Let's work around that, and let's get it done. So like I had a calf injury, and I couldn't put my miles in for like I think 6 months. I had a calf injury. Um, I tore my calf a while back, and then it was acting up, and so I couldn't run full speed. So I'm like, well, I'll just do hill repeats, and you just walk up giant hills until you're gonna die, pretty much. Which it sounds super easy, but it's like the hardest thing like I've ever done is doing hill repeats, and
Wow.
I and so I just adjusted how I'm going to do my cardio and, doing stairs, hill repeats and stuff like that. And it worked. And, I feel like I'm probably the strongest I've been in years, truthfully. And I went, and in the process, I think I dropped, 8 pounds, which I haven't been under 150. I used to cut to 151 to 153 for my surf contests. I'd have a weight where my boards work the best because if I'm too heavy, my boards feel dead. If I'm too light, they feel too stiff. I can't get enough spring out of them. So 151 to 153 was optimal. So then I went all the way down to 148, and I had to order new boards.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I had to order thinner boards.
You like thin boards, right? I remember seeing your boards are very thin, and
Yeah,
you because you're light and you're strong, you can really generate speed from the rails, right? From the like switching rails.
Yeah, I like them a little knifier, especially at Waco when you have that small, short pocket. You need a little flickier board that would just be really responsive. You don't need much paddling there, and yeah, I just like the feel of that knifey rail, digging in.
Yeah, a lot of the surfers now are using thick boards. Like all the like CT
Yeah.
guys are going super thick. It's a lot more pressure on your body, right? It's a lot more. I hurt myself at Waco because I was riding this thick board and it bounced back and it made my foot fold like the other way. It was
Uh,
pretty bad, but it that wouldn't, I think, have happened if it was like a thin board like you do. But at the same time, thin boards require a lot more. You have to work for the
yeah, you
board,
got a lot
like
more
it's not,
effort. Yeah,
and you
a
you
lot
see a
more.
lot more movement. Yeah,
Yeah, we really, me and Rusty and Rick Hammond really work on the boards. I've been with Rusty for like, I think 23, 24 years.
wow.
So, and we're still working on boards. We're still refining small things and we're making different thicknesses for different waves. Like that board in the back is pretty much my Waco board now.
Nice.
So I've been making boards to get ready for Waco again.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And what kinds of fins do you use? I moved to the large one, so it's a lot harder to surf, but it looks and feels a lot better and more stable. But what do you use for fins?
So my boards are a little, I'm on the very bottom side of how many liters you should be riding. So I ride large fins on the outside and then medium fins in the inside.
Oh wow.
So I just found out with being a little knifier and being on rail, I like a little extra fin in the water. And yeah, that's what I've been riding for 3 years now, I think.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. So we talked about boards, about thinking. You said you learned a lot from mentors and people that guided you. Like you built a lot of the knowledge that you have and really the discipline that you have. But is there anything that you gain from like your family that you maybe want to share about like doing things this way is always the right thing or it pays off big time? Like is there something from your family that you want to share with us that's kind of
Um,
powerful?
my brother my brother was always an athlete. My sister, wasn't so much. I think having a bigger brother, you want to be better than them. So I think having a bigger brother helps out of like giving something, you have a bar always, and they're older than you. So you have a bar, you go, well, they're a year older than me. So I have a whole year to get there.
That's
You know,
amazing.
and then after that, you switch to that, you put in that place, you put your friends, and then, they're better than you or something. They go, I want to be better than them. And then just having good, healthy competition always helps. My buddy, our buddy Patrick, I said, hey, do you want to, he goes, I want to get better at surfing. I'm like, do contest because you'll find out where you're at in that age division. And then you know what to strive for.
Yeah, he got second, I think,
Yeah.
last I was there too. I was so impressed. It was like, oh man, he did so well.
He
And
beat, who's that?
Pedro,
Pedro. Yeah. Pedro
yeah.
didn't, had a couple one turn waves and Patrick had a set wave that had two good turns on. And it was awesome. I was cheering. I'm like, I think you beat Pedro. Oh, Pedro's
Yeah,
not like he's amazing.
that's so amazing. And to end here, like I would love to learn more about like your perception of happiness and this pursuit of like doing more, getting more, being more, having more. Like, what does like happiness mean to you, and how do you see it?
At the end of the day, this life, I think, is, my foundation's God. But, um, it's someone asked Jesus, what's the most important commandment? He's like, love God and then love your neighbor as yourself. So investing in people and relationships, I think, is the biggest thing you can do. For me, every job I got was through surfing. Saying that is like I'll be surfing with a friend, and I was just nice to a person, and we went surfing together. And he's like, "Hey, I work at PlayStation. Do you want to have a job there?" And then, hey, there's an opening here, and you hear stuff like that. And it was because of relationships in our sports that we make. And I tell the kids, I coach La Jolla High School surf team. You never know what that person's going to be and how you can pour into people and really encourage people to be better. Um, but I did hear another good analogy the other day. My friend goes, if God was just to open every door, why would he make doorknobs? He's like, you got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Like, God can steer the car, but the car's not moving. You ain't going nowhere. So you have to get that moving. You got to open those doors and see if it's the right door. So, I always enjoy, I like to say, the grind, putting in the work, doing the stuff to get to where you are. And that's the real journey. And the journey's better with people. Having that with your friends, with you at the contest, with everyone else, going to Waco with you and becoming friends, and just being, I think, someone to somebody.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's really helping others is I share the same thinking. I think helping others is what really creates fulfillment, right? It's really
Yeah,
it it's not like anything material. It's not a trophy because it's like it
yeah,
becomes a thing, right? Everything becomes a thing, but having that, I think teachers are heroes and like people that help others really because we're here for that. Like what else like can we do to help others? So yeah, thank you so much for all of these powerful messages, the tools that you use. Now I know I need to work a lot harder. I had no idea. Yeah, and thanks for being part of our podcast here. Thank you so much, Rick.
oh, I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity, and appreciate our friendship.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Bye.